The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
Whatever the condition is in their home country is so bad that they're willing to go through that long, arduous trek to get here, where we've promised this American dream idea. The least we could do is when they knock on our door or help them.
Critical.
When was the last time a Christian was allowed to have a separate place to say their prayers? Look, you can literally bow your head at your fucking desk. You're like, why did he get the thing and I didn't get the thing? You didn't ask for the thing!
And positively LGBT positive.
Look, and whenever there's someone coming after my community, they are either wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a Bible, or more often both.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
What the hell is in Idaho?
Potatoes.
Anyway? You could take a drill
Drill
a
up the
hole
hole in
in
a
a potato and
and
fuck
you'd
a
be
potato.
fine.
Would you marry a potato though? Could that be okay?
No, but you wouldn't have to marry a potato because a potato doesn't need consent for you to fuck it.
And now, from Haines City, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk. This is episode 162 on 420. Happy 420, everybody.
You have any idea how disappointed I am that it's not legal here yet and we're
I
doing a
know.
show on 420?
I know.
Like, what in the world? Come on, Florida.
Oh,
Get your act together.
episode 420 though, we have to. I don't care where we have to travel to.
Right. We have. Yeah,
when we get to episode 420.
we should count that out and kind of figure out where in
Where
the
it's-
area of the calendar that might.
Right, that gives us time to adjust if we need to like do an extra show or skip a week or
Or
just to
travel
make it line
and
up.
pre-record it, maybe.
Oh, yeah. That might work.
I got you.
You're smart.
Oh,
Hey,
you didn't marry me for my looks.
So, today, the goal today, I know you've heard this before. The goal today is to do a short show.
You didn't even hit record, so it's going to be short.
It would be real short. The goal today is to do a short show because I have a speaking engagement tomorrow in Orlando, and I don't know, probably should write it.
Probably. And I have to put eggs out tonight.
Right. So,
So we got lots to do.
that's not entirely true. I do have my presentation ready. I just, I don't have to write my speech. That's all. But I do have to get it all,
I'm going to get everything ready
ready to go.
Set up the computer.
Yeah. But that's going to be a lot of fun if you're in the Orlando area tomorrow and you want to come out to listen to me talk about the religious right trying to take over our government. Then we'd love to see you there. Look up the Central Florida Free Thought Community on Facebook or Meetup for information about the event. Also this weekend, as you know, tomorrow is Easter Sunday. He is risen. And it's also American Atheist Convention this weekend in Cincinnati. And we're a little disappointed that we didn't get to go this year.
Sad face.
Would love to have been there. And there are a lot of podcasters that we intersect with, people that we've had on the show, people that we talk to that are there. They're I guess they've done a whole new thing. There's like Podcast Row at the convention this year where all of these podcasters are set up, and some of them just meeting fans and recording stuff and talking to people. And I thought that would be a freaking blast to be a part of.
Totally.
So maybe next year. Again, the problem with all this stuff is we have kids, and that makes it really hard to travel and do things like that. So, but in the absence of our ability to travel and go to the American Atheist Convention, I thought I would share with you some updates from our audio uncles over at the How to Heretic.
Oh, yay. This will be fun.
Who are at the American Atheist Convention.
Jealous.
And so part of the joy of the convention being in Cincinnati this year is that it is just a stone's throw from the Creation Museum and Kinham's Ark Park.
Yeah.
And so our friends behind the Zion curtain there have been. I'm gonna have to look up the thing again at Reset. Have been live tweeting from the American Atheist Convention. Shit, what was the?
What are you doing?
It reset. It was. I had this all set up, and then it reset.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's
Yes, Gizmo.
Uncles at the Ark. Hashtag Uncles at the Ark. For those of you who might be on Twitter, that want to look this stuff up. We really want to go in, but the lines are pretty crazy. Oh man, look at those lines. For those of you who are not watching live on the Facebook or on
it's an empty queue, like
YouTube
0
later.
people. Like obviously they probably took that picture when it was like early morning before they.
I would be interested to know what
the actual.
Well, no, I'd be interested to know what their attendance, what the spike in attendance is when the atheists come to town, right? Because you know that like everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody goes there just to go, what is this stupid stuff?
Right.
This place is bonkers. I mean, whatever that is.
Oh my god.
I found this evolution of Ken Ham display very informative.
Oh my god.
Wow.
What in the fucking world is that?
That's Ken Ham.
Yeah, but why? What are they holding in that last one? An ark? I bet it's an ark.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, is that the city official that gave them all the fucking tax money to build their stupid genocide and incest park?
Man.
They did get together and have banana splits there at the Ray Comfort and Ken Hammer there.
Out of control.
and everyone died except the 8 people on the ark. Genesis 7:23.
Oh, that's the ark they were
It's
holding.
in the children's corner. That sign is in the children's corner.
Wow.
That's fantastic. What's this one?
Child abuse.
Very kind of Ken Ham to make such a beautiful sign for our show. I can't read that. Can you read it?
It says, if I can convince you that the flood was not real, then I can convince you that heaven and hell are not real.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, sounds legit.
And there's our friends, the Audio Uncles, having their banana splits.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Anyway, there's tons more, but
that's funny.
Yeah. So many of our atheist friends are over there, doing some mockery and seeing the local religious monuments to nonsense. And I think that would be fun to do. I think that'd be fun to be a part of. So we'll have to figure out a way to be a part of that.
All right.
Sometime.
Before we go any further, Dan's freaking out in the chat. He says, we need to address Becca's hair, and because we didn't get to it right away, he says, fine, I'll address it. Hi, Becca's hair. You looking fine, girl.
I love it. I think
love
it's great.
it too. I'm very happy with it.
I wish I could do wild stuff like that, but my work won't let me.
You could. Let me tell you, I have it cut specific in a way that I can part it down the middle, flip it over, and you can't tell. Just saying.
Okay.
You have Michael hook you up.
You guys were supposed to be talking.
No. We had too much time trying to figure out this. We didn't have enough time. We had to take time with this head of beauty.
Okay. So let me put it to you, the viewer/listener. Then, look, I'm ready for a shorter do.
You ain't gonna wear it down, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, if it's not like flying in my face, then I'm good. That's the problem. That's it. It's because I'm active at work mostly, and I don't like it getting all up in my face and stuff. That's all. So I would be interested in doing something short for a while, and summer's coming. That's all. So find some, Google image search and find some hairstyles that you think that would look good on me, and send them over. You don't think so?
Listen. I'm just telling you guys, warning. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Okay.
She asked me to look up some hairstyles and give them to our hairstylist the last time she wanted to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sent her a bunch of hairstyles.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what she did?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing I sent over, just trimmed it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
April 18th was Ask an Atheist Day. And I wanted to share a question that I got from Michael. And I addressed this on the post itself, but I think it was a really good question, so I wanted to share it here on the show. And that is, Michael says, why do many atheists feel the only way to approach non-atheists is with derision and aggression? Wouldn't calm, logical discussion better serve to further understanding of everyone involved? Not that I've known you to do this, but I'm hoping you have some insight into this. Do you want to take a swing at that before I talk?
no, I'm good.
Okay.
I mean, no, because I saw your response, so I know what you're going to say.
I don't entirely remember what I wrote, but
And I'm right there with you.
the first thing I think that we have to consider is that there is a psychology to the transition from belief to non-belief, right? And we often talk about the angry atheist phase as being a part of that. And some people go through it, some people don't. Some people go through it quickly, and some people it takes a really long time to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that depends on, what your experiences were in religion, like how negatively or how badly it affected you personally. It can influence how long it takes for a person to get through that. There's a thing called religious trauma syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times when people leave belief, they're angry because they feel like they've wasted all of their best years believing in nonsense, not knowing the truth, being told, hi Gizmo, being told that they have the truth and then discovering that that was not true, being told by the people that are supposed to have your best interests in mind, your parents and your family, and all of your friends, telling you lies, and you feel like you've been lied to. And a lot of people don't understand right away that doesn't necessarily come from a religious place. Like if I was talking to someone who is in the throes of the angry atheist phase, that would be one of the things that I would want to talk about, right? Is that you feel some kind of way. But like when I think about my own parents, they didn't raise me with religion for any malicious purpose. There wasn't an intent behind that. They thought they were doing the right thing. They were doing the best with what they knew. And the reality of it is that they are, as much as I was, just a victim of bad beliefs, of bad ideas, of poor thinking, right? And so once you figure out how to make peace with that, that goes a long way towards moving you through the angry atheist phase. But yeah, you feel like you need to argue with people and tell them how they're wrong and let me show you in your Bible all these contradictions. And we even do some stuff like that from time to time where we'll look stuff up and talk about it on the show. It's been a while. And when we do it, like it's an intended audience thing, right? Like
Right.
There are studies that very clearly show that approach doesn't change minds, really. With one caveat maybe, which is if you're watching people debate, whether that's in a formal debate or just in conversation, if you're not involved in that conversation and you're just a viewer to it, then you're a little more likely to let that reflect on yourself and and think about it a little more critically. But if you are sitting down with someone else and you're going back and forth telling each other why they're wrong, odds are minds will not change.
Yeah. Well, and I think you pointed that out in the original comment reply about how it's not just the atheist that can come to the table with this,
that mindset of closed.
Yeah, I'm right and you're wrong, and that's just because, and more often than not, you have the religious people that do the same thing, pretty much all the time. I mean, they're freaking coming to your door trying to convert you because they have the one true religion, and you know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting that.
Right. So I think I would say when you see the angry atheist approach, just remember that these are people that are lashing out because they're processing through certain emotions that are attached to discarding that belief and kind of having your eyes opened. Yeah. Right. So when it comes to those logical, calm conversations, right, as you were saying, not all believers come to the table ready to have that conversation either.
Right.
And so I mentioned, I think about like Westboro Baptist Church, right? They're not going to sit down at the table and have a calm, reasonable conversation with you. They're going to show up at a gay soldier's wedding and protest with their God hates fag signs and raise all kinds of hell, right? You're not going to have any kind of productive conversation. But I think if you can agree to sit down with someone whose views on or beliefs are different than you, and you both go into it with the understanding of, look, I'm not going to try to convince you that you're wrong and I'm right. Please don't try to convince me the same.
Right.
I just want to better understand where you come from, and I want you to better understand why I think and where I'm coming from and why I believe what I do. And I think that's more productive. And I think if you put a human element to that, if you can sit down with someone who is so diametrically opposed to you and show them that you're not a monster, you're not trying to take their Jesus away, you're not going to scream at them and tell them they're stupid, and that goes a long way towards making that conversation more productive. And that's why I love street epistemology, because street epistemology is an approach that's very much, I'm not going to tell you what I think. I just want to ask you questions to understand why you believe what you believe and how you got so confident in those beliefs. We're going to have to do something with that dog.
Yeah, she's got to go.
So anyway, I thought that was a really good question. Or you can give her to me if you want. I'll hold her. Did I have any other fun questions? I'm trying to think. Oh, Keith asked, why are there still monkeys?
Why are we out of focus?
Because you're moving. Oh. So much editing to do.
Sorry. I didn't know it did that.
Yeah. Keith asked, why are there still monkeys? And because I know Keith, I did not take that seriously. Kyle asked a good question too. Kyle was, I'm an atheist too, but I'm curious how you answer the common question of where do your morals come from, if not religion? I don't really know the answer myself, partly from my family, but my values are different enough that I know there's more to it. So, yeah, that's an interesting question to sort of chew on. I think there's a lot of it that is explained evolutionarily. We're a social species. We need to get along in society, and so over time, I don't need a book to tell me not to kill people, right?
Right.
We've learned that killing each other is a net bad for the group.
Yeah.
right? And those things are just, I think those just come from us being a very old species in the relative to
Right.
to the world.
I mean, we didn't advance as much as we have without learning
Right.
basic.
Right. So I think there was two questions that you could kind of pull from that, which is like, where do you personally land on issues of morality? And then the second question is, without God, how can anyone have a morality or have morals? And so the humanism, right, is a good approach to that. The idea of reducing suffering and increasing flourishing, that's a pretty good baseline for morality. I do not believe that morality is objective. I think our views on what is moral and what is not change over time, and that's evidenced by the things that we used to think were fine, like slavery and
Right.
And right now there's a moral battle over abortion. Is it taking a human life, and how does that fit into the moral landscape? And when you have, a religious doctrine that speaks to one thing, it tries to make it objective, and it doesn't give you the opportunity to add any nuance or change your morality over time. So I think that's interesting. Rawls' veil of ignorance we've talked about before. So if there's a process by which you can demonstrate that you don't need a God, that's kind of the second part of the question, that I can demonstrate that I can have a good moral position without needing the God. I think the veil of ignorance does that really well. You and I are behind the curtain, and we're about to step out on stage, and when the curtain rises, one of us is going to get murdered, the other one is going to be doing the murdering. Should we allow that scenario to play? And we would obviously say no, even though we don't know which one of us is going to live and which one of us is going to die. Two, there's a chance that I might die, so I'm going to say no because there's a 50-50 shot that I'm the one that's going down. So I would say no based on that, but also that we know that causes harm, and the goal is to reduce harm. Now there's caveats there. You have to agree on what is harm and what is human flourishing, and it's the trolley problem. When do you sacrifice the one life for the 5 lives, and all of that kind of stuff. And I get it, and there's nuance to that. But in general, I think that's a good principle, a good way to sort of demonstrate that there is a way to figure out answers to moral questions without, opening the Bible to the 10 Commandments.
Right.
So that's Ask an Atheist Day. The Secular Student Alliance does that twice a year, and so I usually share out their graphic when they do it, and it's a fun time. We usually get some interesting questions. So participate in that. If you're an atheist, and you're able to be out, do that, because I think that in itself, oddly enough, to Michael's question, that's opening the doorway to that rational, calm conversation of hey, I am an atheist, and I am happy to answer any questions that you might have. So there you go. Okay, so obviously, get into some news here. Obviously, we have to talk a little bit about the Mueller report.
A little bit.
Now, what have you seen or heard of the Mueller report?
I have not. I've had my head in the sand because I've been so busy with every other crap thing that's going on in our actual lives.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Well, I got bad news for you. We're not doing a deep dive or I'm not going to do a very detailed report. I would say I would point you to the most recent episode of Opening Arguments if you want hear a really good breakdown. They had a rapid response episode that really broke it down on what the report says, and some speculation on just how bad the redist. So that's maybe like 95% made available to the public, and then there's some redactions, and so they talked about speculating and just how bad those redacted parts might be. But I will tell you my favorite quote from the Mueller report.
I think I know this is probably the one thing that I saw.
You and everybody else, which is when Sessions told the president that a special counsel had been appointed, the president slumped back in his chair and said, "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm fucked." Which is something no innocent person ever says ever. BTW. So anyway, there's questions of just how bad is this? No collusion, but was there coordination? And the interesting thing is, read the articles from Fox News and then go read the articles from some other source.
Right?
And compare the way that they're being covered, because
I've seen a lot of articles just on that alone, like
just the comparison and how it's being.
Yeah. Like, how can it be so different?
Well, but one of the things is, it talks about, like, we did not find evidence that Trump colluded or conspired or whatever with Russia. But there's one point in there where it says, we did not find sufficient evidence to exonerate the president either. Like, based on what we found, including under the guidance of a sitting president cannot be indicted, we can't make a statement one way or the other. And then it leaves it to Congress, right? It says it's Congress's role to determine now, since we can't bring this as a criminal case, it's now up to Congress to determine, what we should do from there. So that's what I want to talk about. That's kind of where I'm looking now, because there's a schism in the Democratic Party. So you have AOC, who's sort of speaking for the new progressive Democrats, and she's calling for impeachment proceedings. Okay, Elizabeth Warren also tweeted in favor of starting impeachment process. And then you have the old guard Democrats, the establishment types, leader Nancy Pelosi, who's been vocally opposed to impeachment still. So I want to talk about sort of the reasons and maybe see where we land on this one, because this was an interesting kind of conundrum to think through. But I think I've figured out where I land, and I'd be interested to hear what you think. Okay. So, without hearing arguments, what do you think? Should we go down the road of impeachment?
I think if you have reputable people in those positions that are seeking that, they've had feedback probably from their constituents. They've been in the game long enough to know whether or not it's a viable option. Maybe not AOC. But, I mean, you know, like, maybe not just with those two. I feel like if it becomes a thing where more and more people are like, yes, we need to do this. Like, I don't know anything about why you would impeach a president, how it would be done, what would be required. I just don't know. So I can't. Would I love to see the guy not in the White House anymore? Yes, by whatever means necessary. But we've got to do it the right way so that it sticks.
And for the right reasons.
Right.
You know, we can't, because if you go on any of our local news media social media and look in the comments, these always Trump people that are, you Democrats just need to give up. He won. Hillary lost. Get over it. Those people. even if you have a good reason to impeach him, they don't give a shit.
Right.
But in their minds, all of this is us, the Democrats, still mad over the election, and we just need to get him out of there no matter what.
Right.
Right.
Which is funny because we weren't the ones complaining about the election after it was all done. He was, and he won. Which I think is interesting.
So here's a couple arguments to chew on. See if this changes your thoughts. So Pelosi, her argument is sort of from the, hey guys, we're getting ready to go into an election here, and I think the last thing we need to do is piss off all the Trump supporters right before an election.
Fair point.
Right? Like, that's going to backfire the fuck all over us when we go to the polls. And she may be right. However, the sort of AOC position is, yeah, get that, but we have a constitutional duty as representatives to follow this process, even knowing that there's not enough votes in the Senate to actually remove him from office, right? So the House brings the articles of impeachment. They vote, they pass it. There's not enough people in the Senate to do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what it would do is it would open, we use the word investigation, but it would, they would be able to, they would have access to a whole lot more of the information that was found surrounding the Trump campaign and the Mueller investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And they could subpoena witnesses to come in and have Bob Mueller come in and talk about,
Right.
And ask him questions. So it opens the door for a little more fact-finding, a little more truth-seeking, but there's not enough votes to actually do anything with it. Right, so think Clinton. We can bring articles of impeachment that determines that he lied under oath about getting a blowjob, but if there's not enough people that will say,
Right.
and because of that he needs to be removed from office, he's still the president.
Right.
Right? So that's the similar sort of thing that we're looking at here.
So I guess my question is, what happens? So we go through, we impeach the guy. It's successful. He's gone. Then who's the president?
Mike Pence. Unless he's indicted and brought up in the process with him too. But it goes through the next.
And here's the thing about Mike Pence.
Ugh.
As much as I hate him, I don't think he was as deeply involved with this as Trump's kids and his,
right.
I think it would be hard to pin anything on him. And so that would be your president.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's scarier than that is, would he be the Republican nominee for the next election? And with an emboldened Trump base, would he have a better shot at winning?
Right.
Against whoever the Democrats throw up there. That's what worries me.
Right. Well, so again, from the AOC position, the idea is, like, if we don't do this, if we don't at least start the process and do what's expected of us in the House of Representatives, what that does is it sends a signal that you can do whatever the fuck you want as a president and no one will even try to hold you accountable. So we're torn between, we have a duty
Mm-hmm.
to follow the process. But if we do, there may be negative repercussions in the 2020 election. So how do you stack those two up together? I come down on the side of, and this may sound odd for someone who's like anti-patriot, but like I feel like we have to do it, knowing that we're not going to remove him from office, knowing that even if we did remove him from office, it would be fucking terrible. But I feel like that there has to be a consequence of some sort, right? And I think Congress needs to, or I don't know the logistics of who has oversight of this, but whoever can change we don't indict a sitting president needs to fucking change that. because,
Right.
again, that's sending the message that the president is above the law. You
Well,
can be prosecuted
right.
after you leave office. That we can bring you up on charges after you leave office. But while you're in office, boy, the office of the president is so important that we really shouldn't. Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, and then, maybe that's something that needs to be pursued.
Mm-hmm.
That should be, maybe it's okay, so I don't know, depending on the crime. Okay, so you got a blowjob and you lied about it under oath.
Right. Big fucking deal.
Is that a 1 or a 10 on the scale of high crime? And obviously there needs to be some kind of amendments to this that say, okay, what I mean, this is just unprecedented stuff that we're seeing out of this White House, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's already in the books is going to not match what we're seeing. So
Right.
it's new territory. Nobody's ever had to deal with something like this before. But,
Victoria's right. That's
Yeah.
a Department of Justice policy, the indicting is.
Right.
But yeah, that's got to change. And maybe the solution is legislative, though. Maybe that needs to be codified, that this is what happens. And, your agency's policy doesn't mean shit. I don't know. But
if you can say in the state of, what was it, Iowa, that just did the abortion thing?
you could throw some darts at a map, and there are states that just did that. There's a whole bunch.
If you can write a legislation that says a woman can't have an abortion after 6 weeks, unless she's pregnant because she was raped, then you can write legislation that says a president cannot be indicted unless bullet point after bullet point of all of the insane things that a person might do that could get them indicted as a president.
Right.
It's not difficult.
So anyway, as much as I know what the impeachment process could do to the election, I still think we have I still think we have an obligation to go down that path and see what we find, at least.
Right.
All right. Let's move on.
Okay.
So the next story I want to talk about, there's a thing that happened in Alaska earlier this month. A female student was expelled from school after she kneed a boy in the groin when he and several other students stormed into the girls' bathroom as a protest against a transgender student being allowed in the boys' bathroom. Now, that's kind of a long lead, so let me break it down. There's a trans male student.
Okay.
Right? At a school in North Pole, Alaska. Made famous on our show for the preacher going into the Santa Claus line and screaming at people. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Okay, trans boy posted a selfie in the boys' bathroom. So the boys decided they could go in the girls' room because obviously this trans male student really isn't male and shouldn't have been in the boys' room.
Wow.
Okay.
That's intelligent.
The boys were reportedly disciplined for, quote, attempting to enter the girls' bathroom, end quote. But the girl, who was apparently just defending herself from boys coming into the girls' room, got expelled for excessive force.
Oh, that's interesting.
Fuck that.
You know what? Hold on a minute. If this had happened in Texas, I want to know where that guy is that was writing all these commercials talking about how the trans people are going to come into the ladies' bathroom and molest your children.
Yep. That's exactly where I was going next. We've heard these people argue for years against trans people using restrooms because men are going to come into the women's room. And then when it actually does happen, you punish the woman? Fuck you. Give me a break.
Bullshit. I'm surprised the trans kid didn't get expelled for inciting.
Right, inciting violence. So look, this has never been about protecting women. Never.
Mm-mm.
This is about control. This has never been about, oh, you're my wife and my daughters, and I gotta protect. Nope, that's not ever been what it's about. And this is a great anecdote to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's insane.
Right? And let me tell you.
That happens to my daughter.
I was getting ready to say I'm turned to camera. I have a daughter, and if she feels threatened, then
so are the people that are doing the threatening.
She should do whatever she needs to do.
And if she
knees some boy in the groin because he doing something he's supposed to do, good on you. Let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a good lawyer, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Stupid.
Let's see. What else do I have here? Let's talk about... What are you doing?
Checking your page.
I only have 3 pages left. Okay, let's talk about...
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
We have a disagreement in the comments.
Oh, gosh, what's going on?
Dan says, I have to disagree, Sarah. Physical assault deserves a higher penalty than trespass and intimidation.
We have stand your ground laws here. So what is a person to do if they feel threatened?
Right. Well, like, I want to know...
In a room where the one exit is the block.
Like, I want to know the buildup. These kids walked into the girls' bathroom, and what happened?
Yeah.
Like...
Sure.
Did she tell him to leave and he didn't? Did he put hands where he shouldn't have? Did she feel
Is there
attacked?
more to the story? Right.
Or did she just do it because...
Right.
You know, like, and who's this kid? Is this kid got a reputation for being a bully? So is she protecting her girls?
You just
like,
don't...
there's so much to that story that you don't get. So, I don't know. It sounds like this kid probably is known for... If he's doing something like that, I don't know. Maybe not, but I know kids these days, they're horrible.
Okay, I changed my mind. Let's take a break. I have a couple of stories left. We're going to talk about Mayor Pete coming up in the next... Can
you say his name?
Buttigeig. You're welcome. We'll talk about Mayor Pete and more when we come back. You're listening to Sarah Talk.
Are you ready for your first card? As I look at the set I placed down for you, I see an interesting things rising. Some of it has to deal with love and money and changes, and hopefully they're going to be for the better. Now your first card represents your situation, maybe some problems you've been having, maybe a little bit about yourself. Your first card is sorrow. This card is letting us know that there is some type of disruption in your life. Not that it's a big deal, but this card is giving off a strange vibe of anxiety. Actually, this card is warm in my hand. Oh, now caller, if you listen here, I'm seeing in the cards. Oh, yes, the 45 of mangoes. The 45 of mangoes card says you're going to go on to Patreon and subscribe because there is nothing better than giving when receiving. What will you ask me? Find out now and I see for you. Call me now for a free tarot reading.
You let Jesus into your heart. Now it's time to bring him into your home with Flat Jesus. Take photos of Flat Jesus in questionable situations and share with the hashtag FlatJesus. Take pictures of Flat Jesus watching the Smurfs on TV. Hang him on a cross. He won't mind. Flat Jesus on your 3-year-old's toddler potty reading the Quran? That's fucking hilarious. But don't wait, apostates. Download your very own Flat Jesus right now at SarahTalk.com/Jesus. That's SarahTalk.com/Jesus now for your free Flat Jesus. The Bible says the earth is flat. Maybe Jesus was too.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my dad.
You can do this.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Ask for help.
Hey you, this is John from the Wayward Willis, and you are listening to the SarahTalk podcast. You know who else is listening? God. He's listening, and he's pissed. He has to send Jesus out of the room because of all the fucking profanity. Clean up your act, SarahTalk. You make baby Jesus cry.
Welcome back to Sarah Talk. Thank you, John. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, buddy.
What's going on?
Especially after we made fun of you last week in our...
Hope we didn't piss you off and you're, like, actually getting ideas from our little made-up stories.
Right.
We'll come out, we'll walk out of the house one morning. Well, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow's Easter Sunday.
There's going to be a sheep on a cross
in our front yard.
Actually, I would love that, John.
That would be amazing. Hey, John, what can you do in the next, 12 hours? All the way from the other side of the world.
Yes. So anyway, we're further litigating this case in the comments about the trans kid. I think we're missing obviously some key components of the story, but it just smacked to me of the narrative.
Double standard.
Yeah, the narrative has been so much about protecting women and girls, and then an
actual male goes into a protected female space,
and it obviously wasn't from what I read, it did not seem to have a nefarious intent behind it. They were just like, oh yeah, well if this girl can go in the boys' room,
and I could be totally
we
wrong.
can go in the girls' room.
Maybe the girl has a reputation for.
Maybe, sure.
I mean, you never know.
There's details we don't know.
We just don't know. So there's not enough information.
Right.
To actually make a.
Well, I'm sure that we will find out more at some point. So thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. You keep this thing going. You keep my rum full.
When I remember to go.
It's Pledge Drive week.
Oh my God.
Go to patreon.com/SarahTalk and fill this bottle back up for me.
So the plan was we went blueberry picking this morning.
We didn't talk about that. That was so much fun.
With our atheist community here in Polk County.
Yeah.
And the plan was we were going to stop at the liquor store right across the street from where we live. There's a little shopping plaza, and they have a drive-through liquor store, which is super convenient when you have kids and you don't want to get them out to go into the liquor store.
Uh-huh.
And the plan was we were going to drive through there after blueberries on our way home. Instead, we went to Chili's for lunch and had drinks there. And then we were so full and so tired and so done that we forgot to drive through the liquor store.
I mean, I had been at work all night.
It was a rough day.
So I was
be doing all that.
Normally on Saturdays I come home and crash pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then get up to do the show, but we did the blueberry picking thing today, which was a blast. That was so much fun. I'm glad we did that.
Victoria says, and I'm assuming this is aimed at the girl in the bathroom, let's get Mueller to do an in-depth investigation. Anyway, hopefully I'll get to the liquor store before next Saturday.
Yeah, I hope so.
I remember to get you Diet Coke. I did remember to do that.
This show would have been entirely different if you had bought the rum and not the Coke.
Well, actually, it's funny. True story. I actually forgot the Diet Coke, and I was in the checkout, and I had the regular Coke. For some reason, I got the regular Coke, and I didn't get the Diet Coke. And the guy, who was at the next register, worked at the store. He was, manager or something. He saw me when I went, oh, shit. And then I, started looking around, and I had the little one with me, and so I didn't want to, put everything back on into the cart to go get this thing. And he says to me, did you forget something? I'm like, I meant to get a Diet Coke too. And he's like, oh, I'll go get it. And so I actually did forget the Diet Coke and remembered at the checkout. So
well, thanks for being honest.
Little full disclosure.
I appreciate it.
While you're doing whatever you're doing.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for buying some time. See, this is why we just click. So Anyway, for as little as $1 an episode, you can join our great patron family at patreon.com/SarahTalk and help me fill up the rum. Or you can support the show for free by leaving a 5-star review on anywhere you listen to the podcast. And share the episodes out with people you think would enjoy it or who you don't ever want to talk to again. Now, I did mention, too, we're due for another full Patreon show.
We are.
And Dan has sent us some very good questions and topics.
Dan, you rock.
The rest of you...
Losers. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, obviously.
Wow. The rest of you are welcome to send your... for those of you who are patrons.
Now, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident that Dan also already sent you an image from Pinterest for a haircut.
Oh, good.
It's in the comment feed. I couldn't click on it, but I'm pretty sure that's probably what it was, because it was right around the time we were talking about that. He's on top of his game over there.
Oh, he's always on top of his game.
It's quite amazing.
This is not going to work. I don't know if this clip doesn't play, we're in a bad way. So I want to talk about Mayor Pete, whether the clip plays or not.
What about him?
So recently, Vice President Mike Pence and Democratic presidential contender Pete Buttigieg have been engaged in a bit of a spat.
Nice.
For background, Pete is the South Bend, Indiana mayor who would have worked with Pence a bit in his role as the governor of the Handmaid's Tale state of Indiana before becoming vice president. Buttigieg is openly gay and Episcopalian, and
how does that work?
I
would really like to.
Time to do a deep dive into Episcopalians, because I know that they are. I believe that they are a little more liberal, ish, as far as like doctrinal social things go. But I don't really know a lot about them.
I thought I had family somewhere in the tree that were Episcopalians, but I could be wrong.
Really?
I'll have to do some digging and see.
Yeah, you will.
I don't know if that's what they were. I just want to find out. Russell's not online, so I can't ask him.
Where the hell's Russell tonight?
Who knows? Probably sleeping.
So, Buttigieg said at the annual LGBTQ Victory Fund brunch on April 7th that, quote, "The Mike Pences of the world need to realize that if you've got a problem with who I am, your problem is not with me. Your quarrel, sir, is with my creator."
Yeah, you get him.
Right? So, turning it around, Pence seemed stung by this criticism and shot back. In an interview with CNN's Dana Bash that aired Friday, he said he, quote, "considered Buttigieg a friend, and he knows I don't have a problem with him. I don't believe in discrimination against anybody," Pence said. "I treat everybody the way that I want to be treated. The truth of the matter is that all of us have our own religious convictions. Pete has his convictions. I have mine." End quote. Well, sir, the truth of the matter is that you do not treat everybody the way you would want to be treated. Your record in Indiana defines you very much as a discriminatory person, and you base that on your Bronze Age myths. Right? But that's where it comes from. And how Mike Pence could say anything with a straight face about, I'm not discriminatory.
Well, he can say anything with a straight face because he doesn't
funny.
smile. Dan says, if Mayor Pete gets the Democratic nomination, I'll vote for him. If a pet rock gets the nomination, same.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah.
Inflatable
unicorn? Yes. Hello, Mr. President.
I feel like a unicorn would be non-binary. Unicorn president.
No, because unicorns
just a
are
thing that I've
boys
got.
named Mr. Sparkles.
Well, what's interesting about what Mayor Pete has to say here, here's what's really interesting about Mayor Pete, I think, is that, and let me just say, Dan, I'm with you. I mean, I'll vote for whoever, but I kind of like this guy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure he has the name recognition to pull off an upset. Like, Bernie Sanders is leading in all the polls again. Joe Biden is up there on the list. Liz Warren, Kamala Harris. It's still kind of the same. There's a front runner pack, right? So I don't know if he could or whatnot. But what I do think is interesting is this way that he is sort of introducing himself as a kind of a religious left candidate.
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of, and that's cool to me, but it also concerns me a lot because I do know a lot of, there are a lot of people in the atheist community that are like, I'm not going to vote for anybody who's playing religious card, you know? And so I feel like as you see the number of nuns rise,
right,
like I feel like that could be harmful.
Well, okay. Let me push back.
But then he's gay, and so I can't.
Right.
Yeah,
so
like I can't.
Here's the thing.
Make the two go together because I don't know much about the Episcopalian faith. So
here's where I stand on this with candidates. I don't care what your religion is. I really don't. What I care is when you try to shove your religion down everyone else's throat.
Right.
Okay. So my problem with Mike Pence has always been that during his time in Indiana, his religion was just a stiff dick that he could shove into all of the legislation.
Can we not say now I've got horrifying bad dream images in my head about Mike
It's
Pence.
legislative rape is what I'm trying to say.
I get it. But
He is all about enshrining his worldview into the law. Right? I really don't care what he believes, personally.
No.
If he wants to believe that tomorrow there's a magic man who's going to rise from the dead after being rolled into a cave for 3, I don't care what he believes. I really don't. He can believe in the most nonsensical batshittery in the world, but as long as you legislate from a position of evidence-based, medical-based, like, we should not be legislating from a Bronze Age book, belief system.
Especially when there is supposed to be a division between church and state.
Right, that's my point.
Like
so
So
if if Pete came out and said, "Hey, listen, as a Christian," I mean, again, I don't know what the Episcopalians don't know enough.
Victoria's with me, by the way. Thanks for that image. I'll send you the bill for therapy.
Patreon.com/therapy.
No, I think she meant
somebody's
she was going to
pay
send
for
you
it.
the bill.
I know, but somebody's got to pay for it.
Somebody's got to pay.
If Pete came out and said, "Hey, listen, as a Christian, I don't think abortion is right, but as a presidential candidate, I don't believe it's the government's responsibility to jump in and tell you what you can and can't do with your own body."
Right.
That I have some respect for. If he were to do something like that.
Right.
You can have shitty beliefs.
Sure.
As long as you approach the governance role from a neutral position.
Yeah.
That's all I'm really trying to say with Pete. I don't care. And hey, if it brings some of those fence voters over from the right.
Right.
Then great.
Well, and we have met in our time doing this podcast a lot of people just locally that have beliefs and go to church and have religion in their life, but they're not seeking to push their beliefs into their office.
Right.
So
we interviewed them on the show.
Yeah.
I can think of one or two.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you can do it. It's not just because you have this belief doesn't mean you have to like force it into every single pocket of your life.
Right.
You can separate the two. Just like a lot of companies require that you don't talk about religion and politics at work. There's a reason for that. Makes the business run smoothly. So if we separate our politics and our religion in our government, maybe our country will run smoothly. What a novel idea.
Wow. Wow.
Just off the top
So
of
let's
my head.
listen to Mayor Pete here on Ellen talking about the so-called feud with Pence and his religious views a little bit. Now, you're going to have to pretend that this is not a video that we're watching off screen so that Dan doesn't get mad because I don't have the video.
Crap, it's Ellen. I'm sure he's already seen it.
I'm
Ellen's
sure.
awesome.
If it'll play.
I can't hear a thing. I can see a video, can't hear a thing.
We're back
There
with
it is.
Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg?
Got it.
Is
Rolls
that-
off the tongue, right?
Yeah, it does. Once you say it, Buttigieg. But is there an emphasis on boot or edge?
I think it goes more in the boot.
Boot.
By the way, I can't help notice you can't spell Buttigieg without Tig. So
He's talking about Tig Notaro.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just thinking, do you think I get an invite onto that show? Or
On Tig's show?
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you? It's already been shut down. It only lasts for like 3 minutes. What if you made your announcement on her show? That would have been hilarious. All right, so I want to get your reaction because Mike Pence said that you have been critical of his faith and critical of him, and you should know better, and that you're just criticizing him to get elected. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, I'm not critical of his faith. I'm critical of bad policies. I don't have a problem with religion. I'm religious too. I have a problem with religion being used as a justification to harm people, and especially in the LGBTQ community. So many people, even today, feel like they don't belong. You can get fired in so many parts of this country just for who you are. And that's got to change. And if the VP, I'm not interested in feuding with the vice president, but if he wanted to clear this up, he could come out today and say he's changed his mind, that it shouldn't be legal to discriminate against anybody in this country for who they are. That's all.
Yeah.
Amen.
He could have just stopped that sentence at, he could come out today.
I know, right?
Period. Full stop. Would have been just as good.
Right.
Click volume.
I got it.
Got it.
And unfortunately, a lot of people, it's really a shame, too, because there is, nothing wrong with religion, and it's really good for a lot of people, and it works for a lot of people, but religion is used sometimes to justify, they say, well, it says here in the Bible this. So, and I know you're a religious person, so what do you say to that, to being religious?
I mean, let me begin by saying I think it's important for anybody who steps into a political process to speak for people of any faith and people of no faith. So when I talk about my faith, it's not because I believe it should be imposed on others, but it does guide me. And when I'm in church, the scripture I hear is about taking care of the least among us. It's about lifting up those who are most vulnerable and visiting the prisoner and taking care of the sick and welcoming the stranger. That's what I get when I hear scripture. It's a message that is fundamentally about love and humility, humbling yourself before God and putting other people before you. And again, that doesn't have to be anybody else's understanding of religion, but it's where Christianity takes me. And that does have implications for how I behave in the political space.
That's great.
Thoughts?
I just love him.
The only thing that I could maybe take issue with here is that what he's saying is that my religion does influence my political positions. I'm just not a dick about my religion. You know what I mean? And
yes, but I think his point was that his religion influences political decisions based on the scripture, what he hears when he hears scripture.
Right.
Take care of the least among you.
Right.
Take care of the orphans, the widows, the prisoners, the strangers.
But is that different in any way from Mike Pence, who looks at his scripture and sees kills the faggots?
It is.
And uses that in his...
No, but this is the thing with religion. Anybody can read it and interpret it however they want.
Right.
However, I'm going to have more respect for you if you interpret it in a way that shows love for human beings instead of hate.
Okay.
It doesn't mean the whole book is right, but it means you're picking out the parts that are not bad and focusing on that. And if that's what you do, that's what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't, he's using his religion as an excuse to do good things. Great. As long as you're not using it as an excuse to do bad things, I think we're good.
Okay.
So there are some people who are disappointed that a woman wasn't elected the last election, and now they're hoping a woman would be elected this time around. So what do you say to people who are like, but I want a woman to be president? What is your convince them?
This is a hard question, this cycle, that with so many candidates running and so many of them men, that candidates are going to have to figure out a good answer to. Let's see how Mayor Pete does.
Yeah, I get it. And I also am disappointed that a woman was not elected president in 2016. And I think in the end, you got to vote for the person you think best speaks to your values and is best able to lead the country. And you may decide that's me, and you may decide that's somebody else. What I will say is I think it's more important than ever in administrations, in politics, and in every other field to have gender diversity and gender balance. And the next president is going to have to make sure that administration at the most senior levels has gender balance, especially if the next president turns out to be male.
So that means that you would possibly put a woman as your VP?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'd be presumptuous now for me to rule anybody in and out since I haven't got the nomination. But what I would say is gender balance and diversity in general is going to be extremely important, and that starts with the ticket.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, and right?
I thought that was so good.
Yeah.
So I'm liking Mayor Pete. I am. I wonder if, I don't know. I got to look up some more of his policy platform ideas and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Dan says religion is similar to a non-religious belief system. It's going to influence your decisions and guide you. It's what you do with that influence.
True.
So, yeah.
So we have, I don't know if I talked in any detail about this on the show, but when Project Blitz really took off and I found myself going on other podcasts and writing speeches about it, part of the thing that I wanted to figure out was what do we do about it, right? And I
kick him in the balls.
I'm just a concerned citizen. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a constitutional legal expert. I'm a community organizer, but I'm just a person, right? So what the hell do we do about this thing? And when I was thinking through, like, all right, so I make a list. We can do this, we can do that. This is what we should be working on. This is a good idea. And all of those things were either individual or community things that we can do to try to resist this movement to install Christianity into our government. But what we need that we don't have is elected representatives who are representative of us. By the way, now the largest voting bloc. Sorry, potential voting bloc. We have to actually fucking vote, guys. But when these bills get introduced, right? When crazy Kim Daniels submits the Bible in our schools bill, there needs to be someone that stands up and goes, oh, stop, hold on, this is crazy. When it's in committee, there's got to be somebody that'll stand up and say, here's the constitutional understanding of, in Florida, in our state constitution, it talks about no public funds going to religious sects or denominations or purposes, right? But we need to have elected representatives who will stand up for secular the separation of church and state and secular government. And then I started considering, like, oh, who the hell would that be in Florida? So anyway, long story short there.
She's running for office. No, just kidding. I'm kidding.
Anybody could play this show back. And this episode alone, really. And that would kill my political career. So anyway, there's some discussion about, like, how do we do this in Florida? In the U.S. House in 2018, they formed a free thought caucus, right? There's a group of legislators. There's 10 or 11 or something like that now who have agreed to come together and approach legislation from the idea of secular purpose, right? We need that.
Yeah.
And there are state-level caucuses, too. And I want to tell you about a new one. Nebraska now joins, of all places, Texas and Arizona as the 3 states now that have, so far, adopted a state secular caucus. Nebraska, Texas, and Arizona. What an odd bedfellow situation that is.
Not one in Colorado.
Nope.
There's not one in New York?
Dan, you got a spare room?
Right? No shit.
So largely the behind-the-scenes work of the Secular Coalition of America, these groups are largely organized to promote secular values and separation of church and state, but also they're working to increase voter turnout of the non-religious. Again, we have currently now more people than the Catholics or the Protestants separately. So we just need to vote. That'll help.
Yeah.
And we need to have secular people running openly for office.
Yeah.
Right. Again, we're talking about this thing with Mayor Pete here. We have in our founding documents that there shall be no religious test for office. However, we do have a de facto religious test for office. Because if you don't say God bless you and God bless America and God bless my mom after every speech, you won't get elected.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pretend like you believe in at least a deity.
Right.
If you come out and go, I'm an atheist, I'm a secular person, there are very few that have gotten elected, and Arizona's got a handful.
What's the answer to that? Like, what's the atheist answer to God bless you or God bless America? Like, what do you say instead of that at the end of your speech? I'm just spitball here.
I think we should leave that to the listeners. I think come up with some fun things.
She does that because she has no clue.
No, I think it needs to be something that speaks to the unity of the nation.
Like, because you have, like, what does Ellen say at the end of every show? That would be a good one. Be kind or something.
Yeah.
Like.
No, but it needs to be, I think it needs to be something about our common purpose as Americans, or whatever.
I mean, there's plenty of good things you could say.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on.
So the Texas caucus was formed in 2016, Arizona in 2018, and this begs the question, where's your state? So again, we've kind of been talking with the Central Florida Free Thought Group organizers, as well as I've sent some emails to some folks in the legislature here in Florida and the Secular Coalition, and I would love to see something like this here, being a vocal representation of the secular voter, which, again, we're growing and growing in numbers. Yet, we are one of the most underrepresented groups in government. So, if you're in one of these states that doesn't have a secular caucus and you think that that's something you might be interested in helping get off the ground or doing some research to figure out what needs to be done, the Secular Coalition for America is really kind of working the magic behind the scenes on these. And you can go to secular.org and look for party organizing, or reach out to Sarah Levin, who's the Director of Grassroots and Community Programs. It's sarah@secular.org, and she spells her name correctly. With an H.
Wow.
What?
You.
Let's do a Florida man.
Oh, cool. I think I knew that.
You know
song.
what they say. All the best stories start with Florida man, 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 Florida. And sometimes a Florida woman.
The Florida Man, brought to you by our top patrons. Part-time patron Russell, Mandy Imus. I demand a new patron tier. Don't know if that's intended at us or one of the other shows.
Yeah, hard to tell.
And General of the SarahTalk Post-Apocalypse Atheist Army, the SPAAA. I love it. Can we have uniforms in our army that are like, you know, like the single shoulder cape? What the fuck are those called? We had those in marching band. We had capes in marching band. Well, our capes in marching band were a full cape, which is pretty awesome. But a lot of marching bands just have the
I have no idea.
The cape that comes, single cape that comes off the shoulder.
I wasn't in marching band, so I have no idea.
But it would have to be, you know, a pride flag of your choosing to be in the army, I think. Okay, the first story tonight. A Pasco man, Matthew Joseph Aris, 26, of Dade City, was arrested for impersonating a law enforcement officer. Deputies said Aris had red and blue lights installed on his grill and a law enforcement light bar on top of his Chevy Trailblazer. But it's how they caught him that earns him a Florida Man trophy. On Tuesday night, Aris activated those lights, pulling over a vehicle that turned out to be an undercover detective. The detective called 911 to report an unusual traffic stop, and real deputies pulled over Aris a short time later. Along with the police lights, a search of the Trailblazer turned up a realistic-looking airsoft pistol.
Wow.
Deputies are looking for anyone who recognizes Aris or his vehicle who believe they may have been victimized to determine what sort of history he has in doing this, if any.
Oh, my God.
I gotta think, surely he's done this before. It can't...
Where was this?
Dade City.
Oh, okay. I had a friend who actually got pulled over by a fake cop up in...
No shit.
We're up in Groveland.
Ha!
Yeah.
That's funny. The next story, alligator mating season is coming up, so it's not uncommon to see more activity and likely an uptick in gator-related Florida Man stories.
Oh, God, here we go.
This week, an 80-year-old South Florida man took it upon himself to catch an alligator that found its way into his backyard.
Bad idea.
Speaking with WPTV, Ed Chapman said, "That thing tugged me all over." I don't really know if that's his voice or not,
Oh
but
my
that's what
God,
I'm going to
you're
use.
horrible. He was.
Carried me, twisting and fighting me all the way across the property.
You got to do it like he was yelling at the gator, "Get off my lawn!"
I saw it because my dog ran out, and I saw her veer off, and then she ran back, and I looked at it, and there's walking, and I said, "Damn, that's a big gator." How big? Well, officials say the gator would have been about 8 feet long if not for part of its tail had been cut off. 8 feet long. Chapman said he brought out a noose, which asks more questions than it answers, and attempted to apprehend the gator. I went and got the noose pulled, and I got it around its neck, and he swatted me with his tail and knocked my legs out from under me.
Oh, my God.
Chapman said he fell on his side, but wasn't done wrangling the reptile.
Did he break a hip, too?
We argued all the way together until we got all the way over this pond over there, and then his front legs got down in the reeds there, and then we went all the way down, and he had his face in the water. Chapman then called wildlife officials to help with removing the intruder.
Oh, my God. What the hell?
We know that humans are really the invasive species here, so it's no surprise that gators wander into our backyards. Chapman said his gator encounter is nothing strange. He also collects poisonous snakes for venom research and breeds wolves. He currently has about 60 snakes in his collection. Dang on boom hour.
Where is this?
I don't know. South Florida. Of course.
I bet I know where it is. Just saying. It sounds like some people I've met. Go
on. Whether you think that guy is brave or crazy, he's nothing like this next story.
Oh my God, there's more?
Antonio Mosley was jailed after attempting to burglarize a 65-year-old Florida woman's car. Clarice Gainey said she heard a noise outside her apartment. Peeking out her window, she saw a large 300-pound man pulling on her car door handle and knocking on her window trying to break in, wearing only his boxers. Gainey said she eased the door open, and the man saw her and charged. But what he didn't know was that Gainey was a high school softball player. She took a bat and hit him upside the head.
Grandma, get your baseball bat.
Police say Mosley ran to a nearby mobile home park, leaving behind his jeans, shirt, and a sock. A canine unit tracked Mosley down inside a mobile home with new pants on and some cocaine in his pocket.
Oh, interesting.
Officers brought him back to Gainey to identify him. Quote, I said, that's him right there. They said, Ms. Gainey, he's got a big knock on his head.
Right, hit him with my bat.
Right? Don't fuck with Granny.
Was it an aluminum bat or was it a wooden bat?
I don't know.
I'd really like to know. I mean, because if she's a softball player,
right?
Usually they use aluminum bats because balls are harder. Mm-hmm. No, they're soft. They're bigger.
They're soft. Yeah.
They're whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Physics.
Anyway.
Way to go, Granny.
Yeah. You got more, or is that it?
Yeah, no, there's shit ton.
Okay,
more.
all right. Well, then I'll let you keep going.
The next story, Gulfport PD says Joel Benjamin, 71,
all these old people in the
approach.
I mean, it's the retirement capital of the world.
Right, exactly. Joel Benjamin, 71, approached a woman walking her dog on April 13th, just before 9:30 p.m., when he shot the woman several times with a water gun containing his own urine.
Oh, shit.
Several of you sent me this story.
Oh, gross.
In the police report posted by the Smoking Gun, he admitted to deputies that he did not shoot the woman.
The smoking gun? Shouldn't it be the leaking gun?
Oh, my God.
Just saying.
He did shoot the woman and stated that he would do it again. He was charged with 1 count of battery, and I have so many unanswered questions. Finally.
Oh, man.
An outside competitor. ABC Action News reports a 40-year-old man filed suit in federal court in Michigan where he moved in with his parents in 2016 following a divorce. He says that when he moved out 10 months later, they delivered his things to his new home in Muncie, Indiana. But that his 12 boxes of pornographic films and magazines, which he estimates is worth $29,000,
holy shit,
was missing. His parents admitted they dumped the porn, which included titles such as Frisky Business and Big Bad Grannies. Keep with the octogenarian theme here.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
The man filed a complaint with police, but the county prosecutor declined to press charges. The lawsuit includes an email excerpt from the man's father, who told his son, quote, I did you a big favor by getting rid of all this stuff. End quote.
Wow.
He's seeking triple financial damages.
Oh, my God.
Of roughly $87,000.
Holy shit. That's crazy. Okay.
Right?
Is that it?
Don't read all these comments.
No, why? You should
Because-
recap them for each story.
How about when we do the thing? Then you can read them.
Okay.
Let me give you your choices first.
Okay, fine. Sure.
I'm the law. No, I'm the law. Do you even remember that story? Because I don't. Oh, it's the guy.
The guy with the fake police car. Yeah.
Damn, that's a big gator.
Oh my God.
Home run, Grandma. You're in trouble.
Oh God.
And Papa pitched my porn. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Now you can read the comments.
All right. Dan wants to know if stand your ground applies to animals as well. I don't think so. Not sure.
Right.
Victoria says about the guy, same guy. The true irony would be if he dies from something other than those animals.
So true.
And then about softball granny, Victoria says,
oh my God.
He's lucky she went for his head. She's trained to swing at balls.
I love it. That's so
amazing.
Funny.
Oh, and then Victoria says, no, not the porn. He's divorced. He'll need it now more than ever.
Well, so there you go. There's this week's sampling of the crazy shit that happens here in Florida.
I think I have to love Granny with the baseball bat.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like that one.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, the guy that's suing his
they were all pretty
parents
good
for the porn is pretty outrageous, too.
They were all pretty good, but I like Grandma with a bat is, you don't see that every day. You don't see an old man fighting an alligator into the marsh every day either.
Well, in Florida, you kind of do.
But you might in
I mean,
Florida, yeah.
That's not entirely true. All right, well, hey, that's the show for this week. I feel like I should be giving you an update about the calendar because next week,
oh yeah,
we're not going to be here.
Sorry.
So
we'll be at K-Bay wedding day.
What we need to do, excuse us while we have a show production meeting. So what we need to do is I think we need to record the patron exclusive show, and that will be next week's show.
When
and
would you like to do that?
There just won't be a public show next week.
When would you like to do that?
I don't know. You can get with my people and.
Well, you're going to look at my calendar because my calendar's full this week.
Tuesday looks empty.
No, actually, it's not.
There ain't nothing on my calendar for Tuesday.
I haven't updated my calendar, but my calendar's full.
So there you go. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Sarah Talk. Don't know what the hell we're going to do next week. You'll find out. And we'll post it on social media and let you know what we decide to do if we ever decide to do it. But as always, thank you all for listening. Thanks to the patrons for patroning. Thanks to Bob Mueller.
Yeah.
And thanks to Mayor Pete. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. The opinions and information provided on this show are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of the hosts and their guests. We make no representations as to accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors or damages. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.